Okay, I think the video kind of undid some of the reveal on this. So X51, we started talking about this a couple of weeks before launch. One of the big surprises for people was the form factor. So historically, Alienware desktops have been, not the most dainty, petite of devices. They've been big, hulking beasts. X51, as you see here, is a diminutive version. It's 1/7 the size of the previous Aurora product. In terms of dimensions, and I won't go through the actual numbers on this, but if you look at this dimension, just slightly bigger than an Xbox 360. Tapers off from the front to the back, so slightly taller at the front. It's horizontal and vertical orientation, so it will slide in under a TV if that's what you want to do, and have it in your sitting room as a media hub and games device, or it'll just stand up as you see it here. I guess the biggest question that we got, or the most common question was, where's the performance? So the form factor is small, is the performance small to go with that? And of course, with the Alienware brand, we have a reputation to uphold in terms of performance. So, a couple of things to talk about here. We're using Battlefield 3, it's the most current DX11 AAA title out there. All of our benchmarks are at 1080p, so 1920 by 1080. High detail levels across the board, 4x anti-aliasing, anisotropic filtering turned on. Basically everything cranked up high. And the reason why we did that was because many other machines are sold and marketed on a frame rate number. They'll go, 80 frames a second for Battlefield. And there'll be little asterisks, and somewhere down the bottom it'll tell you it's at 1024 by 768 and it's got low texture and da da da. So, the fact that we're taking this, it's a high setting. Our minimum configuration of this device, so Core i3 with the GT540 class graphics, the minimum frame rate achieved is 27 frames a second. Now, general agreement on this, anything above 25 frames a second is perceived as fluid motion, it's playable, it's good enough. That's at a minimum, max in the mid-40s at an average of 35. So at our minimum configuration, this is playable beyond any other device in this class. At the maximum configuration, we're running from 47 to 77 frames a second. Now, obviously, you have an option here. I mean, these are all set very high. You don't have to do this. You can crank these things down if you want the frame rate up high. So if you talk to any of the Team Dignitas guys who are here, they'll tell you it's all about frame rate. Knock all this down, get these frame rates up, double, triple these. You can't have a high enough frame rate. You want fluid motion because they can perceive that motion. It's one of those interesting things that's researched. So subliminal advertising works on less than 30 frames a second. That says you can't actually, your brain doesn't register less than 30 frames. Yet any gamer will tell you there's a perceptible difference between 40 and 50 frames a second. The other thing, by the way, just on performance, we're talking solely about gaming benchmark data here. The reality is gaming stresses hardware in a way that very few other applications do. So this PC, by virtue of the fact that it's a great gaming machine, also means it's a great desktop machine. In gaming, you're kind of chasing the weakest link in the system. So you need to keep the graphics card fed. So you need fast memory, fast processor, fast hard drive, and it'll always find the weakest link. There's virtually nothing you control with this machine in terms of home PC usage, video editing, anything like that this won't be able to handle. So as well as being a great gaming machine, it's just a great general purpose PC as well. A couple of the unique features then, moving on to the next slide. You're familiar with Alien Fusion. I call this idea, this is the power management software that comes with all Alienware systems. On some of the high-end systems, it controls things like active venting. You can set the thermal levels of fans, the limits on overclocking and stuff like that. I raise it here because a lot of people have talked about using this as a media streaming device or a digital hub in the home. One of the uses in that scenario is audio playback. For audio playback, what you want is a very, very silent system. So obviously when you're gaming, the fans are on, there's a small bit of noise, that's to be expected, but you either got headphones on or speakers, you can't hear it. But if you're using it as an audio streaming device, you want it to be near silent. So what you do is you go into Alien Fusion, you turn down the maximum settings for the processor, that will ensure the fans don't kick in and basically the machine will run pretty near silently, if that's what your usage is. And then when you go into gaming mode, it'll fire up and run at full speed. Alien Adrenaline is a new piece of software. I won't give you a huge amount of detail about this. If you want to find out more about it, we can discuss it over a beer. But basically, it allows you to configure the environment on the PC on a per application basis. So, for example, if I want to run my game, well, I want to make sure that I want to set my Alien Effects lighting one way. I want to launch my voice morphing software so I sound like Godzilla when I'm talking to other people online. I want to shut down any other open applications because, God forbid, Outlook would start replicating a mailbox in the middle of something more important like Battlefield. Basically anything you want to do like that. On the next slide then, I think we're talking about Alien Effects lighting. So you'll be familiar with this, I think, from the other Alienware systems that we have. So there are multiple lighting zones on it, all configurable independently. And then the other thing that we haven't got on here, which you will see on some of the demo systems, we also have matching peripherals to go with this. So there's a Tactics keyboard and mouse that also link into the lighting. One of the really cool things that we started promoting heavily at the back end of last year was an API for Alien Effects lighting. So that's a programming interface for developers, so they can actually access and change the lighting in-game. So that opens up possibilities where, if you get killed, everything turns blood red, all the lights on the keyboard. Or if you go into a forest, everything turns green. If you've got a cops chasing you, there's a siren, you can make a keyboard flash blue lights. You can do anything you want in the game to synchronize the lighting to what's going on in the game. So it's quite a nice feature, and obviously unique to Alienware. The next slide then, just talking about the target audience for this. So I think Henrik sort of touched on this. One of the ways we view the market, we don't view it as a book as we view it as a spectrum. So, there isn't a typical way to describe a gamer. Classical names like all these casual, mid-core, hardcore, pro, enthusiast, there's a lot of different names out there. The reality is nobody fits significantly into any of these in any easy way. So I'll take myself as an example. I'm married with 3 kids, I get paid about 2 or 3 hours a week. So by anybody's definition, I'd be down here as a casual gamer. However, I've been working in the graphics industry for 17 years, and I have no interest in playing games with low resolution, low texture detail. In terms of my hardware purchase, I'm up here. And also what happens is over time, you sort of move along the scale. So before I was married, and I could put whatever hardware I wanted in my sitting room, I was putting big high-end rigs in. Now I'm looking for something that can be accommodated in the sitting room. And so people move across these spectrums, and historically we've always played right up at the high end. So the Aurora, Area 51 systems were very, very targeted. But we've always known there was this other market, where the mainstream gaming market is. And so we wanted to round out the portfolio, hence X51. In fact, what's interesting about this in terms of where people sit on this is usually dictated by time. So the more time you have and the more time you dedicate to gaming, the closer you end up on this end. The less time you have, the more likely you're going to be classified down here. Which is kind of amusing because there's 2 groups of people that have a lot of time to play games. There's young people and there's retired people. And at the moment in our demographic, and it's interesting actually, the demographic of the gaming market is aging. So the more and more people in their 30s, 40s and 50s are gaming, and that's probably because, I'm probably of the first generation of people that grew up with games. So when I was a kid, it was down to the arcade, putting the money into the coin ops, so Sega Outrun, Karate Champ, Double Dragon, and all those ancient games, I don't have the time anymore, but at some point in the future, when I'm older and I'm retired, hopefully I will. So we might actually, instead of the pro game league sort of overrun by all these young people and team tickets class, there might be a seniors league like we get to the golf, like a seniors tour for gaming, which would be a bit of fun. So as I say, X51, we're trying to target the rest of the audience that maybe that the high-end stuff hasn't directly addressed in the past. So that is the short and sweet presentation. We We didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. This is basically, to summarize it in a nutshell, it is a small form factor PC with big PC performance. A very simple message, very clear, very true to our brand heritage. We deliver the best performance we can within the form factor. We've done it in the laptops ranging, from the portable 14 all the way up to the 18-inch. And so on the desktop now, we're just rounding out the portfolio, delivering something for everyone.